$17 million worth of assets, 1 million active players, 6 million registered, and years of development gone in a flash. This is the story of Paragon, the game that never saw a full release. Before Boogie Bombs, Ninja, Peter Griffin, and Fortnite in general began oozing itself into every corner of modern society, there was just Epic Games, a run-of-the-mill gaming studio with a decent track record of AAA games, a previous relationship with Microsoft, and a growing partnership with Chinese gaming giant Tencent. With an urge to break into the games as a service space, a notion that would later bring them to releasing Fortnite's Battle Royale mode, Epic Games first looked towards successes like League of Legends, which their new partner Tencent owned. Epic Games began working on what they believed would be their next breakout title, Paragon, a game born out of Epic's desire to break into the growing MOBA scene. Paragon wasn't just another multiplayer game. It was Epic's ambitious experiment, a third-person, action-packed MOBA designed to blend stunning visuals with deep strategic gameplay. But for all its ambition, Paragon would become one of Epic's greatest failures, just another game lost in the shadow of Fortnite's success. But did Paragon deserve this fate? Was it doomed to fail from the start? While the reasons for its demise are clear now, I can't help but wonder, was there ever potential for its success? The care and time that went into this game is evident. Its mechanics are refined and its playstyle is unique. So was this just a situation of bad luck and wrong timing? Let's find out. Back in 2015, Epic Games released the first trailer for what would become their next great success, a game titled Paragon, which sought to bring the action of third-person shooters to the MOBA genre and revitalize the scene as a whole. With over 30 heroes in a well-crafted map, Epic released the game's open beta just a year later in 2016, and would go on to release a monolithic update, which further expanded the character roster. During this time, the game received immense attention, climbing the player charts and eventually boasting an impressive 832,000 active players, with an additional 6 million registered. For a brief time, Paragon was in the spotlight, not only in the MOBA community, but in the larger gaming world as well. Now, at this time, I was 15, young, unlicensed, and with more free time than I knew what to do with. Naturally, I was drawn to any game I could get my hands on. When I discovered Paragon, I dove in head first. To me, the game struck a perfect balance between the large-scale, strategic feel I had come to love from games like League of Legends and Smite, and the fast-paced, third-person combat that made Paragon feel fresh and engaging. The only game I can compare it to today is Valve's Deadlock, a game that recently entered its alpha playtesting phase. That's just how special Paragon felt. With all the success, attention, and quality Paragon brought, imagine my surprise when, just a year and a half after its beta debuted, the servers were shut down, the assets released for free, and Epic moved on. Now, this all happened in 2018, and of course a year prior, in 2017, Fortnite's Battle Royale mode released, and took the world by storm. The team at Epic working on Paragon was cut significantly, which makes sense. Fortnite was receiving more attention than any other game at the time, had player counts in the millions, and was on a clear trajectory to become the powerhouse of gaming it is today. But even with this, why shut down Paragon's servers? Well, there's no better place to search for an answer to this question than from Epic Games themselves. During this time, they revealed in a press release their reasons for abandoning the game. In their own words, they just couldn't see a path for growing Paragon into a MOBA that would retain enough players to be sustainable. In other words, the player counts were dropping fast, and despite their best efforts, the now short-staffed development team couldn't keep up. Honestly, despite being tremendously upset to learn this game would never see a full release, having never left its beta stage, I think Epic Games handled the situation of shutting down Paragon better than I've seen any studio deal with ending support for a game. In their press release, they go on to accept full responsibility for the game's shortcomings, even apologizing for not being able to save it. They then offered full refunds to anyone who made any type of purchase in the game, on any platform, specifically mentioning that the refund would come from their own pockets, not the platform they bought it on. After making this decision, Epic then released all $17 million worth of Paragon's assets for free, including 39 heroes and over 1,500 environmental components. This decision, and the whole way Epic handled the situation, makes it clear to me that they did really care about the game and wanted it to have a chance at life, even if it wasn't for them. And thankfully for their efforts, it did in fact have life outside of them. There have been 3 attempts to revitalize this game to its former glory. The first of these attempts was a game titled Fault Elder Orb, developed by Canada-based Strange Matters Studios. It was live and fully playable on Steam just a couple years after the fall of Paragon. However, in 2020, when it was released, it only reached a peak player count of just under 5,000 players before quickly falling off, with the servers for the game finally shutting down on November 1st, 2022. The next attempt at reviving Paragon came with a game titled Paragon The Overprime, or just Overprime for short, made by South Korean studio Netmarble Seoul EV. Now, Overprime was special as it was the only remake out of the 3 that utilized the Paragon name and trademark, with Epic Games giving Netmarble the rights to do so. Overprime released in 2022, and although it saw greater success than Elder Orb, it too would go on to suffer a very similar fate, reaching 32,000 players on its release and eventually shutting down its servers just a couple of months ago, in April 2024. And lastly, there's the game Predecessor, the only Paragon remake to still have active servers and players, with its full post-beta release just last month. Predecessor currently has around 2,500 daily players, but that also seems to be sliding. Each of these attempts to remake Paragon were very similar, with only minor differences between each iteration, and the mechanics and assets used in each of these games remained pretty much the same to Paragon. Now, I myself have had a lot of fun playing Predecessor, as it reminds me of Paragon in its heyday, and I hope that the game does well. But with its current direction, lack of advertising, and the sad history of Paragon clones, I don't foresee Predecessor gaining much traction at a larger scale, especially with the current rise and success of Deadlock, its closest competitor in the third-person MOBA space. Now, hey, hopefully I'm wrong. As I've said, I thoroughly enjoyed Paragon in its prime, and I've had some fun playing its newest iterations, so hopefully they continue to do well. And while I'm sure Epic Games made the right choice in abandoning Paragon to pursue the massive success of Fortnite, there's a part of me that wishes and wonders what Paragon could have been if Fortnite's Battle Royale mode had never come out. Would the millions of registered players have remained? Would Epic have pushed harder for Paragon's success? What do you think? Because I honestly don't know, given the failures of the remakes that followed in its footsteps. But of course, Elder Orb, Overprime, and Predecessor each never received the massive marketing and attention that Paragon did. So who knows what Paragon could have become on its own? Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts and what your experience with Paragon was if you played it. I know I'll be keeping a close eye on Predecessor and any other Paragon related news, while I continue to do research and make weekly videos on games of the past and the future. So consider subscribing and checking out the rest of my channel. I'm sure if you're still watching, there's a video you'll find interesting. Thanks for sticking around. Consider giving Predecessor a shot. If you need someone to play with, we got a Discord in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next week.